Let me brief you a couple of housekeeping rules for the program. One, the FDP is an online collaborative experiential learning platform. So please participate actively and optimize learning experience. Recording of this FDP would be available to all the participants through Atal Academy portal, as well as it will be uploaded on the YouTube. Mute your microphone when others are speaking, and keep your video camera on for the enhanced learning experience. Do not interrupt a person who is speaking. Post your queries in either Q&A or the chat box. We will do our best to answer all the queries while keeping the time management in mind. Yeah, this is the state-wise distribution of participants. We have about 21 states represented in the program altogether, the highest being from Telangana, and the lowest, of course, there are a few states from where there is only one participant. It is a very well distributed participation. Discipline-wise, about 99 participants are from management background, and engineering, there are about 47. The others are all from very diverse backgrounds. In fact, one of them is a medical doctor. Are you able to see the screen, sir?
No, sir. Screen is not visible. Can you share the screen?
No. I'm sharing. I tried. I think it's uploading. It's still on. It's still trying. But in the interest of timing, I'll proceed.
Proceed.
Yeah. So there are some unique features about this program. This is the first Atal Academy sponsored FDP in IFHE, the first FDP on design thinking in IFHE, first online FDP with such diverse participants from across the country. Participants receive inputs on a single topic of design thinking for about 22 hours, equivalent to almost 2-credit course in a typical university program. It's a robust program designed with a balance of theoretical inputs, practical applications, and practice sessions. We offer an engaging, we have already offered, in fact, all the participants are aware, we have offered them an engagement of post the FDP also, so that the learning can be deepened. And sessions are interspersed with Fit India program by senior faculty members from, the art of living. Okay. Our distinguished Vice Chancellor and the Chief Guest of the day, Mr. Ravi Kant. I think the sharing is taking some time, sir. One second, I'll just share the screen. It is getting interrupted with the joinings, that is the reason why I think it is taking time. 1 second. Let me first upload the screen. Yeah, I think it should come through now. Are you able to see that?
No, sir, not yet.
No, sir.
No, sir, not yet.
I think you can.
No, sir, not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
No, sir.
1 second.
Because we should give.
No, sir.
1 second.
Because
It may be because of
time to
video on.
You see, we can.
Yes, sir.
We have to give time
Once-
to Mr. Ravikant. So I think we should cut the short and then proceed.
Okay.
Close at 3:30.
Okay. I think we will.
You can summarize what you want to say.
Yes, sir. I think what we will do is we can I can stop this screen sharing and request the Honorable Vice Chancellor of the PHI Foundation for Higher Education to address this.
Good afternoon, Mr. Ravikant, CEO and founder, Innovation Spark Asia. Mr. Sayantan Mukherjee, Innovation Coach, founder, the Hilltop Ventures. Professor Ramachandra Pradeep Kumar, Civil Engineering Head at Spake Engineering Research Center, IIIT Hyderabad. Professor Sainath, Dean, Curriculum, Faculty and Entrepreneurship Development, as well as President of the IIC, Institutional Innovation Council of the ICFI Foundation for Higher Education. Professor M. Bhaskar Rao, resource person, coordinator, and the architect of this program. It is because of him we have got this Atal Academy. I congratulate him for the tremendous amount of efforts he has put in realizing this event. Distinguished participants of the FDP on design thinking, members of the faculty, ladies and gentlemen. This is a very important FDP supported by Atal Academy. You have got a very distinguished person, Mr. Ravikant. So, and as there are participants, as Mr. Bhaskara has mentioned, participants are different parts of the country. I want to tell, as the Vice Chancellor of the university, what this university is briefly. So let me see whether I have some slides. Can you put the first slide on? Is it possible? If it is not possible, I will summarize. The first one is that this is a deemed to be university. Next. Yeah, this is a deemed to be university under Section 3 of the UGC Act 1956. Deemed to the university means it must have made special contributions in one way or the other, not a conventional university. And we got the deemed to be university status in December 2008 from the government of Government of India, Ministry of Higher Education, and it has 4 faculties: management, science and technology, law, and architecture. It has 320 faculty and 7,000 students. Next. Is everybody able to see the screen?
Yeah, we are able to see, sir.
Yes, sir.
The vision of the
Yes, sir.
university. The vision is to have excellence in research, teaching, and practice. We combine these 3. Research is extremely important. Teaching, of course, students are the most important stakeholders. Teaching is important, and practice in terms of consultancy, management development programs, etc. The mission is learning for leadership. Next. The programs are business school, as the participants here are majority. Here, this university also, 3/4 of the university is a business school. Faculty of Science and Technology and Faculty of Law, School of Architecture. There are 320 faculty and 7,000 students from all over India. Next. This is NAAC accredited with A+ grade and a deemed to be university category under category 2 autonomous institution by the UGC, which means you have got greater independence in decision-making process. And it has got SACS accredited thrice in the year 2006, 2013, as well as in 2020, valid up until 2025. Then it is one of the few institutions in India which has got AACSB accredited business schools in March 2020, valid up until February 2025. This is granted. The headquarters of AACSB is in Florida, Tampa in Florida, and only about a dozen institutions in the country have got this AACSB accreditation. And I want to tell the distinguished participants that this school, the business school, got accreditation not just for MBA program like other Indian institutions, but also for BBA as well as PhD. Next. It is both CRISIL and ECRO have rated it very high, and NIRF gave a rank of 25, and QS ranking it stands 76 to 80 among the Indian universities ranked by QS out of 1,000 universities. The university has been recognized among leading universities in India by Business World. Next. Now, they are very fortunate to have Professor Rangarajan. As you know, he is the former governor of the Reserve Bank of India, former Prime Minister's Economic Advisory Council, and winner of the Padma Vibhushan in the year 2002. Next. Research, this is very important. As I mentioned in the vision, research is one of the things, and you can see the practicality. Last 5 years, they have published 1,253 papers, including several hundreds of papers in Scopus listed journals and 700 conferences, international and national, where our faculty have participated, and faculty seminars, 1,250, every department, whether it is economics, whether it is physics, whether it is marketing, or finance, or computer science engineering. There are faculty seminars where faculty get together and exchange, and that's the way to promote research. And every week there is a seminar in every faculty, and all the PhD students and faculty together form the team for the development of these seminars. And these seminars have helped us a lot in improving the quality of the PhD program. And book chapters, 1,384 during the last 5 years. Next. The centers of excellence, this is very important. This university is known for its case research center, where cases are developed here in this campus in Hyderabad, which are used not just in India but all over the world. Then the second most important relevant for this faculty development program on design thinking is the Center for Innovation, Entrepreneurship and Incubation. And the director of the center, the in charge of the center, Professor Sainath, is participating, and happy is participating in it, and he is developing the center. And design thinking is very relevant for this, to promote creativity, to promote entrepreneurship, and to promote innovation. Center for Banking and Finance is again a very important center. Similarly, commercial laws, environment, cyber law, women's studies, to promote women entrepreneurship, to promote the issues relating to women. Center for Intellectual Property Right, this is again very important for design thinking. Next. Case approach, as I mentioned, case center, you will be happy to know that we have developed 6,500 cases, and they are used in 1,000 institutions across 90 countries. More than 100 AACSD accredited schools use the cases developed here in Hyderabad in our university, including INSEAD, Columbia University, California, Berkeley, Johns Hopkins, London Business School, Oxford University, Cambridge University, HEC Montreal, and SDA Berkeley. Next. You will be happy to know, all the distinguished participants should note that IBS, the business school here, is the third largest provider of cases. The Case Center, the world's largest repository located in England, next only to Harvard and INSEAD. Harvard is number 1, INSEAD is number 2. The third is our Case Center located in our business school here in Hyderabad. And the cases are published by top publishers such as McGraw-Hill, Pearson, etc. And they have won several prizes by EFMD in Belgium, Gold Coast Case Writing Competition in Switzerland, Case Center Awards Competition in UK, and John Molson in Canada. Yes. Now, one of the important things, for example, as you will see in Harvard, as you will see in Chicago, as you will see in Cambridge, as you will see in Oxford, they all have university presses. Similarly, we have IUP journals where the university takes the responsibility of 17 or 18 journals, the academic content, the intellectual content of these 17 journals, where the editors are from the faculty and some are from external members. And they come every quarter and well subscribed all over the country. Next. We pay a lot of, as a vice chancellor, I spend a lot of time inviting distinguished persons. Today we have got Mr. Ravikant. Earlier we had very distinguished persons like C.R. Rao, well-known, world-renowned statistician, and governors of the Reserve Bank, Rangarajan, Narasimham, Y.V. Reddy, is known to everyone. And very distinguished persons in different areas. All these 22 listed here are Padma awardees, are either Padma Shri or Padma Bhushan or Padma Vibhushan. I won't go into the details, as this will be made available to all the distinguished participants. Next. There are other distinguished visitors, distinguished international professors. Jagdish Sheth is known to majority of the participants. He is a distinguished professor at Emory University in Atlanta. Deepak Jain was earlier at Kellogg University. Now he is the vice chancellor of Ambani University, Mukesh Ambani's university located in Mumbai. Suresh Sundaresan, Professor of Finance at Columbia, Vijay Govindarajan at Harvard, and several directors of IITs and IIMs, members of Planning and Finance Commission and Niti Aayog, High Court and Supreme Court judges, and other legal luminaries, and top government officials, including secretaries of the Government of India. Next. Then best practices, I won't go details because the time is short. Socially relevant curriculum is extremely important. Curriculum has to be relevant. Everyone of sitting here in this webinar will appreciate that curriculum is most important. CASE approach is to support the fact that the curriculum is relevant. Innovative PhD program. One of the innovations in the university is our PhD program, where we have got rigorous coursework. That's the most important thing in India, which is lacking. Coursework should be rigorous, and then only you will become competent in terms of research methodology and in terms of the area, whether it is marketing or finance or physics. We have rigorous coursework, so the student becomes, if he knows thoroughly, he becomes eligible to go for PhD thesis. So we have a program where a qualifying examination, and also we have got possibility of a semester abroad during the program, because he gets that exposure to teaching and research in an international context. But due to COVID now it's not there, but our program is now at 10 years old. It has become quite rigorous internally. We are almost self-sufficient. Hiring and retention of faculty is very important. Faculty seminars, as I mentioned earlier, they are very important because research cannot be done by one individual. Groups of interested. But the idea is each member should participate actively in the seminar, as there will be active participation in this session today, and similarly participation in conferences. Whatever research work you are doing, you must go outside the university, in India and abroad, and make your presentations, get the benefit of comments of the other professionals, and improve quality, and then publish in better quality journals, and incentives for publications. Critical thinking and creativity. This is most important aspect of the university. How do we make our students? There is no scope for rote learning. Every classroom, all the 7,000 students, every classroom, every day is a place for learning and creating critical thinking and creativity. In the lecture itself, that must be brought in, and that is linked to design thinking. Inculcation of ethical awareness through cases, student clubs, because students among themselves, because they are team spirit and leadership. Summer internship program. Every student has got access to summer internship program. They learn a lot through the practical experience. Interface with industry and alumni. We have got around 17,000 alumni. They take a lot of interest in interacting with the regular students. With industry, we have got several management development programs and consultancy, where the faculty interact with them. They become richer and become better teachers in the classroom. That interface with industry, government is extremely important. Similarly, alumni. Preparing students for job ready. We have got several, I won't go into the details because we want to achieve 95%, 100% placements. So we prepare the students as to how to face an interview, how they should be strong in fundamentals, and how they should impress the team member, the placement teams, and then get the jobs. They have been successful almost 90-95%. So with these words, I would like to just say, just 1 minute I will take, because when an expert like Mr. Ravikant is there, I should not talk much, except I would like to say that design thinking attempts to solve complex problems for organizations and societies. A design mindset helps to find a solution focused towards the delivery of better outcomes through logical and intuitive reasoning. In short, in one word, what design thinking does is it improves the competitiveness of organizations, whether it is a private sector or public sector or government. It's a very important concept focusing on creativity, which is central to our university. Mr. Ravikant, a design thinking expert and practitioner, is our chief guest and keynote speaker in this inaugural program. I'm sure he would share his insights gained over several years, and all of us immensely benefit from his session. I would like to conclude. Yes, I'd like to thank immensely Professor Bhaskar Rao for the keen interest he has taken in organizing this workshop, and also our registrar and the directors for the keen interest they have taken in organization of this program. My best wishes for this program. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I'll just take a minute to introduce Mr. Ravikant, and then Mr. Ravikant will deliver the address. Yeah, Mr. Ravikant is a design thinking and innovation specialist from the University of Virginia with proven expertise in setting up design thinking practice and driving the culture of innovation. During the past 2 years, he has founded a design thinking and innovation consulting firm, Innovation Spark Asia, helping companies increase growth and profitability. He collaborates with his clients to build innovation capabilities, devise growth strategies, create better products and services, and reinvent business models. He has been frequenting as a speaker and mentor within the innovation and startup community. He has designed and facilitated workshops and design sprints at NTPC, Maruti Suzuki, Monotype Solutions, Google AI, IDFC First Bank, and 91 Springboard, to name a few. He has collaborated with the Academy of Human Resource Development, the VC Circle, to conduct design thinking workshops for professionals at private and public companies as well as management students. With over 30 years of experience in information technology industry, he has been instrumental in defining the strategy and execution plans for leading and transforming businesses, business units, large technology delivery teams, and cross-functional multi-location strategic initiatives to improve customer experience, reduce cost, and enhance people engagement levels in an organization. He has most recently worked as a business head at the Royal Bank of Scotland for more than 15 years, managing investment, corporate and retail banking technology business units for the organization. Thank you, sir, for accepting our invitation and being with us this afternoon. We once again warmly welcome you for this program. Thank you. Sir, you are not audible.
We are not able to hear you.
Ravikant, sir, there is some audio issue. No, not yet, sir. There is some audio problem.
Sir, he has to unmute.
He is unmuted, sir. Unmuted. Sir, Ravikant, sir, otherwise you just log out and log in, sir, once again.
No audio, sir.
Yeah, I think that is, sometimes it happens. I think he just can log in once again and it will start. It may be because of the bandwidth also. Yeah. Unmute, sir. No, not yet.
No? Can you unmute? Sir, can you unmute?
Yes, unmuted.
Maybe Bluetooth, maybe remote Bluetooth. Or your phone is advisable, sir. Your phone.
Now it is muted, sir. You're muted, sir.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Now it's
Okay.
perfect, perfect.
Yes, sir. You're audible now.
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, it's my honor and privilege to be here as a chief guest as well as keynote address speaker. I thank Professor J. Mahendra Reddy and Dr. M. Bhaskar Rao for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to share my experiences and learnings on design thinking with such a diverse set of people joined from different states in India. And there are 200 plus people, as I understand, are there on the call. And I really wish you all the best. And in next 4-5 days, you will have an opportunity not only to learn about what is design thinking and why is it so important, but with this diverse set of background, I think you will have lots of opportunities to learn from each other. And that should be the main objective as a part of the program. So let me share my slide pack, which I plan to take you through today. Can you see my slide?
Yes.
You
Okay.
can continue.
Yeah. So as we all know, the business world is changing, and the business world is changing very fast. And one of the key drivers for this change is the advancement in technology. People adopt new technology, and they build new expectations, and their preferences also are getting changed. And it is happening so fast. For organizations to stay relevant and competitive, they need to do innovation on a continuous basis. And that can only happen if people working in these organizations can build additional skills in the area of design thinking and complex problem solving. When I talk about additional skills in the area of design thinking, it is more to do with skills and capabilities like agility, empathy, creative thinking skill, as well as complex problem solving skill. Along with this skill, people working in these organizations also have to change their mindset. It has to be more collaborative, as well as they should be open for any experimentation. So that is the kind of capability which organizations need now. And that is why more and more organizations have understood that design thinking and problem solving skills are not a choice anymore, and it is a necessity. I will talk more about it, why it is so, in a subsequent slide. Before I get on to, let me talk briefly about my organization. As Dr. Bhaskar Rao talked about Innovation Spark Asia, I started this organization around 2 years back, and we introduced ourselves as innovation specialists, helping companies in increasing their growth and profitability. These are the 3 key distinct offerings we have from Innovation Spark Asia. We design and facilitate design thinking workshops to educate people and organizations on design thinking principles, mindset, and tools to develop and nurture design thinking mindset and culture of innovation in an organization. As a design thinking and innovation coach, we design and deliver bespoke problem-solving design sprint, leveraging the creative practices of design thinking, which enable people and organizations to come up with novel and useful ideas to improve their customer experience as well as their product and service offerings. As an innovation strategy and enablement offering, we collaborate with our clients in developing and executing their innovation strategy and charter of innovation so that they can stay relevant and competitive all the time. These are some of the offerings we have from Innovation Spark Asia. These are some of the workshops I have conducted in last 2 years. More than 1,000 plus people have attended my workshop in last 2 years. And I have delivered workshops for large organizations like Maruti Suzuki and NTPC, mid-sized organizations like Monotype Solutions, and startups like Bobble AI, and so on. Most of my workshops are activity-based, hands-on, because that is the core of design thinking. Because design thinking focus on learning by doing rather than only having the theoretical concept. So design thinking is more about thinking and thinking. It is more about doing. This was one of the workshops I delivered over the virtual platform using tools such as Mural, which is a virtual whiteboard which provides participants to learn and share their experiences on the whiteboard itself. So this was primarily aimed at. I participated as a senior design thinking coach, and I was supported by Mr. Igor Dimnik from Switzerland as my co-coach, and the team worked on solving the problems faced by teachers and students due to COVID-19. And team worked on identifying solutions which can make teaching and learning experience more pleasurable and engaging both for teachers as well as students. So they came out with the idea of BridgeMe, an integrated tool which not only help teachers and students to engage better, as well as it enable teachers to keep track on students' understanding of the subject, as well as the progress using the AI chatbot and so on. So that's, and as a design thinking coach, I help the team to take them through the complete design thinking process from understanding to ideation to prototyping and testing up to one stage level. So this is how I delivered a program on a virtual environment as well using tools like Mural. So you can see on this screen, there is on the right side, it is a Mural board where various templates as a part of the design thinking process I used, and some of the screens which they created or wireframes which they created as a part of the program. So let me come back to the subject of why design thinking and problem solving skills are a necessity for the organization. As I said, for organization to stay relevant and competitive, these skills are very, very important. Not only this, organizations have also realized that without the design thinking capability and capacity, organizations are not able to utilize their employees to their full potential. In other words as well, if employees without the design thinking skill and capability, they are not able to give their best to the organization as well. So it is from both sides, it is very important that organizations should develop the skills, and people working in these organizations should learn design thinking and complex problem solving skills. Why we are not able to utilize or why people are or people working in these organizations are not able to give their full potential. One of the key reasons is our brain structure. So we all know that our brain had two parts to it. One is the left brain and on the right and the right brain. On the left brain, which is more help us to be more analytical thinker, rational, more facts oriented and more planned oriented. Because from kindergarten, we have been taught to learn to use only left side of the brain, which is more analytical, rational. Anything we do, we are more analytical and rational. So even in our ecosystem, we have developed a linear mindset wherein we know we have to do this and the next step is this and so on. If you look at in our school, so we start with kindergarten, then we go to primary school, then secondary school, then we get into colleges, then we get into job, marriage, blah, blah, blah. And that is how our life works. And the same is being replicated in organizations. So most of the organizations have set processes, and people when join them, they also have to follow the same process, and they continue to use analytical side of their mind, which is the left brain. And the right side of the brain is not being used to the fullest. And right side is a very a key element in terms of coming out with creative ideas. So right side of the brain is more imaginative, which is more creative, and it also is more futuristic. And for organization to stay relevant and competitive, they need to create a capacity within the organization where people can use both sides of the brain. And you may think that you are already using the right side of the brain, but research proves that only 5% of the time we are using only right side of the brain. 95% of the time we are only using left side of our brain. And design thinking is, and right side of the brain is also help us to come out with out of box ideas. And that is why how organizations can come out with novel and useful ideas to address the changing needs of their customers and consumers. And design thinking is a problem solving process that combines both the creative and analytical thinking. So by practicing and learning design thinking methodology, set of principles and tools, along with this mindset, organizations can create an environment where people can use both sides of the brain. People can give their best to the organization, and organizations can also leverage and utilize their employees to the full potential. And hence, design thinking is very, very important skill to be developed and nurtured in an organization. As per World Economic Forum, these are the top 10 key skills are required in next decade or so. And you can see that list. And when you practice design thinking principles, design thinking tools, and you automatically develop these skills, be it complex problem solving skill, critical thinking skill, or creative thinking skill. So people learning and adopting design thinking in their organization are able to develop new products and services to improve their current offerings as well as improve from whatever they are offering as of now. And design thinking is very important skill to be developed and acquired in an organization. And that is why design thinking is the secret to success. For any organization to stay relevant and competitive in next 10 years, organization needs to create an environment and create a process through which people can develop these skills. And design thinking is the way to move forward. And that is why design thinking is an important skill in today's fast changing world. And another research paper from World Economic Forum states that because the world is changing so fast and there is a need for almost 50% of the people have to be reskilled in next 5 years. And I shared with you what are the top 10 skills. So institute like yours are in a right position to develop the design thinking capability and capacity in your institute to support the corporate world in achieving their reskilling targets. Because
Ravikant sir. Ravikant sir.
I think there was a technical glitch and he removed himself. So he may be joining again.
He may be joining, yeah.
Maybe he lost the connection, sir.
Yeah, it looks like. We'll wait for a couple of minutes.
Sir, we are not able to access the form that was just sent. Could we please resend that form?
No. The form has not yet been sent, ma'am. It will come.
All right. Okay, sir. Thank you.
I think there is some connectivity issue. These logged out.
I would suggest, sir, he switches off his video for bandwidth issues and keeps on the presentation on so that it doesn't happen again. Thank you.
Yeah, maybe we will do that. Yeah, because of the bandwidth issue. Yeah, he's joining. He's just logged out and he's joining us. Yeah. Are you able to see the screen? Is it visible?
No.
No, sir, screen is not visible yet.
Yeah, it will come. It is coming up. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Now
Yes, sir.
visible, sir.
Yes, sir. It's visible now.
Yeah.
Screen is
Yes,
all
sir.
right.
Yes.
We can see it now.
Visible, sir, visible.
So, Mr. Ravikant is joining any moment now, and it will be continued.
Yeah, this is the place where we have to start.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
50% of all employees will need reskilling by 2025.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
We can start from here.
Yes, sir. He's just joining, sir. He has had some technical glitch. He's joining us.
Okay,
Just now.
no problem. సార్ టీ తీసుకుందా సార్కు టీ దేవు
Hello.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear you. Please continue, sir. Hello. Yes. Yeah, we can hear you, sir. You can continue.
Power shutdown.
There is. Your voice is not audible, sir.
Problem.
Maybe you can shut down your, stop your video, sir, and just speak without the video on. Then it may be better.
On the electricity side.
So you can.
So
Stop the video and just audio. You can continue, sir.
my apologies for that.
Yes. Hello, sir, I think you came online, but I think you got disconnected again. Okay. Mr. Ravikant is trying to get back to us. In the meanwhile, maybe we can save some time because the time overrun may be there. Sir, with the permission of the Honorable Vice Chancellor, I would just introduce the speakers for the rest of the program for the day. Is that okay, sir?
No.
He is trying to come back to us. In the meanwhile, I'll introduce the other resource persons for the day. We have the two resource persons who are going to take the sessions, and we can save some time through their introduction now. Till we get back Mr. Ravikant online. Yeah. We have with us Mr. Sayantan Mukherjee, who is a resource person for the program. And Mr. Sayantan Mukherjee is, one second. Profile I'll briefly read out for the members on the program. Mr. Sayantan is an innovation coach. He founded the Innovators Garage and the Hilltop Ventures. He worked as an innovation manager at Mahindra & Mahindra Limited, where he mentored 550 plus engineers and managers. He is TRIZ Level 2 inventor. TRIZ is theory of inventive problem solving, and he mentors various startups. Currently, he is innovation consultant at Mahindra & Mahindra, guest faculty at Symbiosis Institute of Business Management, Pune. Welcome to Mr. Sayantan Mukherjee. And we also have with us Mr. Hemant, who is also the resource person for the program. Mr. Hemant Changakatti is a director of product at Position Square, a multinational company. It's a digital marketing firm headquartered in Silicon Valley. Its mission is to develop and help innovative companies win. Its clientele includes companies like Amazon Web Services, Lenovo, Airbnb, LinkedIn, Citrix, Fujitsu, Epson, Cabbage, acquired by American Express recently, and many more. He leads a team of design, product, technology, and marketing professionals in building and marketing products for global audience, starting with the US market. He has previously been a part of 4 startups leading teams in user experience design, product management, and marketing. He was also the head and VP of marketing at Jigsaw Academy, which was acquired by Manipal Group. He started his career as software engineer at Wipro Technologies. He graduated from Sri Satya Sai Institute of Higher Learning, deemed to be university, and was awarded the President Shankar Dayal Sharma Gold Medal for MBA. He has a BE in Instrumentation Technology from Vishwesvaraya Technical University and was the recipient of scholarship for ISC level studies at the Assam Valley School. He loves to share his experience in the field with others and is a guest faculty at Satya Sai Institute of Higher Learning. He also mentors recently passed out MBA graduates in user experience design, product management, and digital marketing. I welcome both Mr. Sayantan and Mr. Hemant to the program. Mr. Ravikant has come back, so we will hand over the floor to Mr. Ravikant. Welcome back, sir. I'll disable this and start the presentation so that you can continue, sir. Yes, sir. Ravikant, sir, please continue. I will make the presentation available. Ravikant, sir. Hello. Ravikant, sir. Hello. Ravikant, sir.
Professor Bhaskar Rao.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. We can hear you. You can continue, sir.
Okay. So my apologies. There was some power shutdown here, because of which my line got disconnected. So I was at a point where I was sharing with you that by 2025, there is a need for almost 50% of the employees working in corporate world needs to be reskilled on new skills. And as I mentioned in my previous slide, the top 10 skills which are required in next decade or so largely can be developed by building design thinking capability in an organization. And institute like yours are at a right position to develop design thinking capacity and curriculum in your college so that you can support these corporates to achieve their reskilling targets in next 5 years or so. So that is why it is very, very important, the kind of work which you are doing. And these are some of the best business schools in the world. They have already started design thinking education as a part of their business curriculum, be it Stanford or Harvard or Berkeley. All of these universities have been already providing teaching design thinking as a subject, and University of Virginia, from where I did my specialization in design thinking and innovation. So I'm sure some institutes have already started providing design thinking as a subject in their curriculum, or others are in the process of developing curriculum which can be offered as a part of their business school or otherwise. This slide is showing you companies, some of the known companies that have been using design thinking for some time. So these organizations have adopted design thinking as a framework for innovation in their organization to improve employee and customer experience, as well as their product and service offerings. And you can see design thinking is industry business agnostic. So there are organizations in the retail, manufacturing, healthcare, or banking and financial, or IT service organizations, and so on. So design thinking is agnostic of any industry or any business areas. And some of these organizations are pioneer in adopting design thinking in their organization. Can you go to previous slide, please? Yeah. So organization like DBS, SAP, or Amazon, they have been pioneer in adopting design thinking in their organization. It's a part of their culture now. And it is well integrated at the strategic level to take or to drive any business decisions using design thinking. So design thinking is not only being used to improve the product or service offerings, it has been also being used to improve internal processes or internal HR processes. For example, Nestle or Cisco, they have used design thinking to improve their HR processes, which includes improving an employee experience in an organization. So design thinking has been adopted across industries, not only for product and service offering, as well as for internal process improvements as well. So these design-led companies, next slide, please. Okay, on this slide, you can see these design-led companies have outperformed than their peer group by almost 211% or more than 200% in last 10 years between 2005 to 2015 as per Design Value Index. And around 70% of the organizations have been able to transform their culture to be more innovative. And that is what the need is. And that cultural innovation has also helped these organizations in improving their top line and bottom line of the organization. Can you go to next slide? Oh. Hi. Yeah. So not only it is.
Sir, screen is not visible, sir. Can you please?
I think one Mr. Nagakiran is making some presentation. Can you disable the Nagakiran? Yes, sir. Please continue, sir. Nagakiran, please disable your screen.
Okay. So not only design thinking, design-led organizations have been able to deliver incredible result for their organization, but it is also important for their reputation as well. Organizations which are not more focusing more on innovation, they are not able to retain their position in Fortune 500 companies as well. So between 2010 to 2017, almost 1/4 of the organizations who are not contributing or who are not focusing on innovation have not been able to retain their position in the Fortune 500 companies. So it is also important not only for top line and bottom line of the organization, it is also important for the reputation of the organization as well, to build design thinking capability and capacity in an organization. Next slide, please. And Roger Martin, I suggest if you get time, please read his book. Roger Martin, he's ex-dean of Rotman School of Management, Toronto, and he has written this book. And these design in today's day and age, organization, we all know that organizations have to continuously innovate, but at the same time, they also need to run their organization more effectively and more efficiently. And that is the advantage of using design thinking in an organization, which enable organization to not only continuously innovate, but they are able to run their organizations as well as very efficiently and effectively. That is how design thinking is a
competitive advantage as compared to organizations which are yet to start their journey on design thinking. Next slide, please. So let me share a story now, and name of the story is Good Kitchen. Next slide. And this story is from Denmark. And Denmark, like any other developed country, they are facing challenges with senior citizens or with aging population. And in Denmark, the various municipalities in Denmark, they are providing the subsidized food and accommodation to senior citizens who are not able to function due to health reasons, or they are due to health or any other reason, or due to age. And there are, can you go to next slide? And there are close to 125,000 people in one of the municipality, Holstebro in Denmark, where the municipality is providing subsidized food and accommodation. And one of the problems which they are facing with this aging population is the nutrition problem. And almost 60% of the people, or these aging population people, are not eating food properly. And 20% of these people have already started losing weight. And this is one of the problems which the Holstebro municipality was facing. And they decided to invite Hatch and Bloom, one of the innovation consulting firm, to help them in solving this problem. Mr. Bhaskar Rao, can I have that screen as well?
Yes, sir.
Oh, Mr. Bhaskar, if you can stop presenting, I will now share my screen, if that's okay.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, yeah. Can you stop your screen?
Yes, yes. One second, sir, I'll do it.
Yeah, can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can see
yeah. So coming back to, so there are around 125,000 senior citizens who are relying on government-sponsored meals. And the challenge which this municipality is facing, that 60% of the senior citizens are not eating food properly. And then 20% of these senior citizens have already started losing weight. So what the municipality of Holstebro decided to hire Hatch and Bloom to come and fix the menu problem. So initially, the municipality staff thought it's a very simple problem to solve. They can ask Hatch and Bloom to connect with senior citizens, understand their menu request or understand their food habits, and just changing the food menu will solve the problem. And that is how most of the time, without getting deeper understanding of the problem, we try to follow the same path which we have been following in solving similar kind of problems. And initially they thought it's a very simple problem to solve, but what Hatch and Bloom decided is to get deeper understanding of their senior citizens' needs and the problems. So what they did, they followed the design thinking approach. So as a part of the approach, what they did, they started with, they rode along with the staff which were delivering food to these senior citizens. They decided to spend some time with these senior citizens to observe them. How are they receiving their food and how they are laying their tables, how they are, if they are adding any ingredients to the food, and how they are eating their food. So they decided to observe these citizens when the food is being delivered. And they use a tool called journey mapping, which help you to trace your customer experience throughout that journey. So they use that particular tool, but they decided to observe, as well as they decided to talk to these people, to connect with them or understand them better at the emotional and psychological level. As a part of the observation and the interview process, they also decided to talk to the kitchen staff or kitchen staff supervisor who were preparing that food. And what they came to know, that working in a kitchen staff or working in a government-sponsored kitchen is a very low status job for these staff members. And working in this kitchen is not helping them. So because of which they were feeling demotivated and disengaged. Because working in a government-assisted kitchen is a low status job, because of which they were not able to really engage and contribute or come up with new ways of creating and offering their food and things like that. So that was an insight which that Hatch and Bloom came to know when they talked to these people. So what they decided, it is not only the problem with the senior citizens, there is a problem with the kitchen staff as well, who is preparing the food. And they expanded the scope of the project. So while they were observing them and they were also talking to senior citizens, what they came to know is that in Denmark, when people get at the senior age level, they normally get support from their families. So they stay with their family. If they are not able to stay with their family, they hire people who can really help them during that at that age. And getting the support from government is not a great thing for any senior citizens to rely on government subsidized food as well as accommodation. Because of this, these senior citizens were feeling demotivated. That's one. Second, when they were eating food alone, they were feeling loneliness, and it reminds them of their family as well. And all these reasons have contributed to them that they are not eating the food, complete food, whatever is required at that age. And because of which there is a problem at the nutrition level. As I said, more than 20% of the people started losing weight as well. So this is what the first stage, when they observed and interviewed these senior citizens as well as the kitchen staff. So they found that senior citizens are feeling embarrassed to accept assistance from government, because that's not is seen as a positive in country like Denmark, and similar to what we have in India as well. So when they were eating food, they were feeling loneliness, and it reminds them of their family. There were very limited options to choose from, the menu items which they have. And finally, the kitchen workers were also feeling bored, and they were not adding any extra bits to whatever food they were preparing. So these were some of the insights they gathered when they observed and interviewed senior citizens and the kitchen staff. So what they did is, as a next stage, they invited people from residential care unit, municipality staff, kitchen workers. So they were directly providing their services or directly connected with senior citizens. But as a part of the various workshops they conducted, they invited people from outside their organization. Like, for example, they invited volunteers as well as experts who are expert in elderly issue. So they invited people from outside as well. And as a part of, while they share all the insights, they defined the problem statement, which is as follows: how might we encourage senior citizens to eat proper food to stay healthy? Instead of only looking at adding new menu items, they defined the problem in such a way which includes their user needs, insights, and it also generates some actions for the team to work upon. So that was the first statement. The workshop was focused on defining the problem. So if you look at the Hatch and Bloom used the co-creation and collaboration principle, wherein they invited people who are directly providing those services within their organization, and they also invited people from outside who can really help in solving that problem. So what next they did as a workshop, the next workshop was primarily focused on identifying possible solutions to address this problem. And the facilitator used the analogy as one of the tool for which what he did, that facilitator did, asked all the participants to think about this kitchen as a restaurant. If this kitchen is seen as a restaurant, how various components of restaurant can be related with what the kitchen staff is either providing as a services or senior citizen as a customer. So all of a sudden, using that analogy of kitchen vis-a-vis restaurant, people started coming up with new ideas. And if kitchen is a restaurant, then who are these cooks? They are equivalent to chef in these restaurants. And the waiters are equivalent to vehicle which are delivering that food. And they looked at menu, what is available in restaurant vis-a-vis what they were providing as a menu. It was a simple description of menu items. Whereas when you go into a restaurant, it is a well created menu card which has pictures and the description in such a way which will make you make your mouth more watery to order that. So they learned from restaurant and they started practicing or implementing some of the practices of restaurant. And one of the things they started off with was changing the menu card. So they came out with multiple set of prototypes wherein they define the menu description in such a way which will tempt people to order, as well as they provided the pictures of the menu items and the better description. So what they did, they came out with multiple set of menu cards, or the menu cards which they shared with their senior citizen and allow them to see which one worked for them. So with that particular change of showing the pictures and better description of the items like in restaurant, almost there was an increase of 500% increase in the orders which they were receiving from these senior citizens. So just changing the menu card with proper description and the pictures, it increased or it added to the top line and bottom line of the kitchen or kitchen which is being supported by the government. So this was one change, but as a part of the whole process, they came up with other suggestions, like they not only created the new menu item, they also designed the packaging through which they were delivering that food. So it can be compartmented in such a way, it can provide better choices to senior citizens. And they provided new uniform, which gave pride to senior citizens of working in a government assisted kitchen. They also started the feedback mechanism and newsletter, which not only keep everybody abreast on what's happening and what are the new things happening, it also helped senior citizens up to an extent of reducing some loneliness. So now senior citizens have something to work upon in terms of providing their feedback, can add some news items, or they want to create any blogs so that they can keep themselves busy as well. So initially what the Hatch and Bloom or what the municipality thought, it's a very simple problem to solve, just changing the menu item will solve the problem. But by using design thinking as an approach, it has completely transformed the government supported kitchen, and it has completely transformed the way they have been delivering. Not only it has added to the top line and bottom line of the organization, but has improved the employee engagement or kitchen staff engagement, as well as help the senior citizens to be more positive about whatever they are receiving from the government and so on. So that way, it has really transformed, and design thinking has really helped in transforming the overall culture of that government-assisted kitchen. So this is one example where design thinking has really changed the way we look at problem or approach the problem, and how, if we apply design thinking, how it can really transform it. And this is how the design thinking process looks like. And I'm sure you would have seen a similar 5-step process. To me, design thinking is a process of continuous learning and experimentation. And it starts with people you're designing for, and ends with the people, and ends with the solution you have designed for these people. And you follow through this design thinking process. It is a non-linear iterative process. As you can see, some arrows I have shown here. At any stage of the process, if you find that the idea you have come out with is not resonate with your users, it is better to go back to the previous stage, either at the prototype stage or ideation phase, to look at something you have missed out based on the feedback you have received. So I'm not going through the complete process. I'm sure you will deep dive into each of these phases as a part of the next 5-day program. This is just to depict, this is how the design thinking process, it's a 5-step process. It's a non-linear iterative process. And at each stage, you can use some of the tools which I'm using at each stage, which enable people to get better understanding of their users, as well as these tools help you to think out of box, to come out with novel, useful ideas, to come out with innovative solutions to address the changing needs and behavior of your users. So this is the overall design thinking process, which I'm sure you will deep dive further into as a part of the next 5 days, when people like Mr. Sayantan, Mr. Hemant, and Professor Ramacharla will take you through the process. So it's a process of continuous learning and experimentation, and it requires a different kind of a mindset of leaders who are leading teams in an organization, and people who are really contributing to come out with innovative ideas and solutions to address the changing needs of your customer. It requires a growth mindset. And the key difference between fixed mindset and growth mindset people is, fixed mindset people believe their skills and capabilities are fixed. And whatever capabilities they have, they can attain success with those skills and capability. And they don't put in any hard work to build additional skills and capability. Whereas growth mindset people, and I call it as learning mindset people, they continuously upgrade themselves in terms of adding new skills, new capabilities based on the changing demands of the job which they are doing or their customers they are serving. So that's the key difference between, and it requires a growth mindset because it's a process of continuous learning and experimentation. And when we say growth mindset, and these growth mindset people are ready to challenge the status quo, because they know that is the only way they can grow, and that is the only way they can find some useful and novel ideas or different path to finding a solution to a problem which they are facing. So they get away from traditional way of solving problems. They follow, they try to look at alternate path to find solution to the problem which they have been trying to find through in a traditional way. They are also open to ideas, and they are open to listen to any new ideas and use that particular idea to improve their product and service offering or improve their solutions. Failure is an opportunity to grow. They believe that failure is an opportunity. So they learn from that mistakes. And whatever they learn, they adopt those learnings and improve their offerings and solutions as they move forward. And they are highly collaborative. So it requires really a different kind of mindset when you are implementing design thinking or learning design thinking in your organization. So I think it's food for thought. What kind of mindset do you have? Are you a growth mindset person or a fixed mindset person? The growth mindset people are really have the courage to challenge the status quo. They have the ability to find alternate path to the solution. They don't shy away from failure. They learn from mistakes and they are open to collaborate with these people. So those are some of the characteristics which people need to adopt or need to develop if they have to implement design thinking in their organization. This is one of the case study I thought quickly I can talk about is Emirates Airline. So what they do in order for them to stay relevant and competitive in the airlines industry, they on a continuous basis collect data about their customers. So through their interviews, through observations, they collect data on a regular basis. They also collect data from the staff members who are really assisting the pilots and co-pilots and who are also flying along with them, as well as flight attendants. So these people are collecting and observing on a regular basis how their customer behavior is changing, what are their needs are changing. So once in a 6 months, what they do at the leadership level, along with some of the directors, they come together every 6 months and look at the data they have collected in last 6 months. And they start to make sense of that data in terms of what is on the horizon, what are the things they are doing well, what are the things they are not doing well, which are the areas which they need to work upon, what is their competition doing, as well as they also draw some insights from the data they have collected in terms of what are their pain points, what are their new pain points of their customers, and is there any way to reduce those pain points. And they also look at how the customer behavior and needs are changing and what are the needs and new behaviors they can see for their customer in next 10 to 15 years. So they, on a continuous basis, they collect that data, and every 6 months they come together and look at possible areas where they need to work upon to improve their product and service offering, more related to their service offerings. And they use design thinking as a process to come out with those useful and novel ideas to improve their service offerings based on the customer data they have collected over a period of time. And that is how the organizations have to do if they have to stay relevant and competitive, because they need to understand their customer behavior and changes, whatever are happening, and they should be prepared to address those changes in a quick turnaround time. So this is one of the examples I thought I should share with you. And now coming back to sharing with you some of my experiences of how I have applied or how I'm helping organizations in applying design thinking in a practical way. So these are the key 3 building blocks for any organization to build the culture of innovation. The 3 key building blocks from my perspective are the process, which really help organizations to translate their concept to actuality. So organization need a process which can help to generate, evaluate, prioritize, and fund new ideas, because people will come out with useful and novel ideas. An organization need to have a process to evaluate, prioritize, and fund those ideas so that those ideas can be integrated with their mainstream offerings, so that it can improve their current and future product and service offering, as well as it should improve their customer experience. So that's the first thing organization need to build. Second, along with process, organizations need resources, not only technology and people. Along with funding, they need technology and people which can really translate those ideas and take those ideas to execution. And they need people who are well equipped with design thinking capabilities and capacity. So organizations need really people who are innovation champions, and they need to build if they are not, they don't have, because these are the people who will really translate those ideas to execution. And third is the environment. So organization need to build the environment of continuous learning and experimentation. And organization need to promote entrepreneurship, creative thinking, as well as collaboration in their organization. They also need to build the culture of experimentation, where people are encouraged to take risk, and failure is okay, and it is okay to fail in an organization. So that's the kind of support organizations need to provide. So I really help organizations to build those building blocks before they start on that design thinking journey. What additionally I have done is, beside those 5 steps which I shared with you, I've added 2 more additional steps in the design thinking process. The first one is the understanding phase, wherein I bring all the people on the same page in terms of the problem they are trying to solve. It also not only helps them to come on the same page in terms of what is known, what is unknown about the problem they are trying to solve. It also helps them to look at what are their assumptions, what are their hypotheses, because those assumptions and hypotheses will really help them to identify which are the people they need to observe and interview as a part of empathize phase. As well as it also helps them to create the set of questions which they need to ask to their consumers and their customers. So because understanding phase is important, and based on my experience, that's one additional step I have added. The other additional step I have added as the pitching. So when people will come out with ideas, and I found in a practical way, people do have ideation, brainstorming session, but they don't know what to do next. Most of the organization are doing that ideation workshop, ideation generation sessions, but they don't know what to do. So I've added a new session or new step in the process is the pitching step, wherein all those ideas which people have worked upon and created the multiple setup prototypes needs to be presented to the leadership team as a part of the pitching. And leadership team need to decide which are those ideas they need to support. They need to allocate resources and funding so that people can take those ideas to the next level, so that those can be integrated with the mainstream systems. So these 2 steps has really helped me to really provide them the structure and the framework from idea generation to integrating that in the mainstream product or service of any organization. And that's what I have added as a part of this step. When I take people through the design thinking process, I take them through these steps. This is an innovation framework which I am showing with you, I have been practicing. It can be used at the institute like yours, as well as this can be used at the organization level. And you can see it's a process, starts from idea generation to concept and refinement, and then implementation and launch. The key difference between when you launch or when you use these kind of frameworks in an organization vis-a-vis institute, the key actors or key contributors will change. For example, in universities, when you need to get funding and resource allocation, you may have to look at VCs, which you can get support internally or externally. Whereas when you are working in an organization, that funding will come from their internal budgets, right? And similarly, when people have come out with ideas in institute like yours, you need to get mentors on board, who can really help these people to translate those ideas to and scale it up those ideas. Whereas within the organization, there are identified mentors who can really help the team to create or translate those ideas to execution. For example, like for your institute like yours, if you have to implement that, you have to start with what is your focus area. So some of the themes, maybe you can look at some of the things, whether you want to focus on healthcare as a unit to build your incubation center or entrepreneurship cell, whatever it is, or you want to get into fintech space, for example, blockchain or so on. So depending upon your objective of setting up those entrepreneur cell or incubation center, you can identify which are the themes you need to work upon. And then based on those themes, you will get into a process of regular events where you can start generating some various ideas, and then invite the VCs to review those ideas and see if they are interested in funding those ideas. And then you can take the help of your mentors within your network, which can really help your students to translate those ideas into really tangible business outcome, which they can really share with the corporate world if they want to implement some of those ideas. And ultimately, at the end, it should add to the growth in terms of revenue or in terms of profitability. And that is how the whole framework works. And I have been practicing this framework when I'm taking organizations through the innovation journey. And this is how most of the organizations or institute like yours have set up a innovation hub or innovation lab. And I see from my practical experience, I can tell you that there is a big potential for institute like yourself to create the innovation hub where corporates can come with their problem, and along with some of the faculty members, they can really help them to take them through the design thinking process and go back with a tested prototype, which they can really integrate with their mainstream systems and so on. And this is how I have been practicing this. So this was my last slide, and I stop here and happy to take any questions whatsoever it is.
So thank you, sir. Excellent, presentation. Lots of insights. I'm sure there will be many questions, but considering the time, I request Honorable Vice Chancellor to allow maybe 2 questions, and then we can take the remaining later on.
I think we have had an excellent presentation. I have learned a lot. Much better results in companies which are going for design thinking as against others. There a lot of empirical evidence has been presented. And 50% of all organizations require reskilling by 2025. That's a very big takeaway from this lesson, from this session. You see, we have to seriously think how we are going to meet this requirement of reskilling of the employees, and the numbers are 50% by 2025. 2025 is not that far away. So, and failure, I think, yes, sir, you have rightly mentioned about failure. We should take it in the right spirit and take it as an opportunity for growth. The Emirates case was very interesting. Sir, thank you very much for saying how to apply design thinking in the organization. You have given the blueprint and identify the focus areas. It was in all an excellent lecture. Thank you, sir, very much for a beautiful.
Thank you.
Now
My pleasure, sir.
Now I open for any questions. Can you unmute and raise the question?
Sir, there is a question in the chat box.
Yes.
By Sunil Kapadia. What is the overall time a project can be completed with the help of design thinking solution?
Sorry, Bhaskar, can you repeat that question, please?
What is the overall time a project can be completed with the help of design thinking solution?
Okay. So with my experience, there is no fixed pattern through which you can solve any particular problem, depending upon the depth and breadth of the problem, number one. And number two, the organization's willingness to focus on solving that particular problem, as well as the capability available in an organization. But from my experience, it has to be a very time box. Unless and until you time box your solution, it is keep on going. And design sprint is a great mechanism through which you can time box your activities in a normally in a standard way. We follow 5-day design sprint, where we take participants through all the design thinking steps within those 5 days. And there is a dedicated day for example, empathy, dedicated day for ideation, and last couple of days are for prototyping and testing. So within 5 days design sprint, you can go through the complete process and come out with possible ideas to address that solution. But depending upon the organization, how that idea has to be integrated into their mainstream system. And organizations are using methodology like agile methodology, which really help organization to scale up that solution using those ideas. So there is no fixed answer I can give you, but largely design sprints, which is 5 days, wherein you can come out with prototype, and depending upon organization and how they want to integrate with the mainstream system, time will depend on that. So there is no fixed answer to that.
Sir, good evening, sir.
Yes.
Sir, I'm Janakiram from Andhra Pradesh.
Yes.
In what conditions, like in what circumstances can design thinking fail?
Okay.
Can design thinking fail?
Okay. Yeah, design thinking fail if you don't follow the process with true spirit. When I say true spirit is, number one, ideas which you come up with, you need to ensure those are really meeting their user needs, and it is really solving some real user problems. That's one. Second is you need to ensure that those solutions or ideas which you have come out with are technically feasible. And third is those ideas and solutions should make business sense as. So if you take all your ideas and solution through those three lenses of whether that solution is really solving any business problem or any user needs, and those are technically feasible, as well as it is making business sense. If you don't follow that in true spirit, and I've seen in my experience, people come to solution without spending so much time and effort on really validating whether it is really solving the real problem. Even startups, more than 42% of the startups fail because they continue to develop a product which people really don't need it. And that is one of the, although they use design thinking, but still organization fail.
Thank you, sir.
How design thinking can contribute in skill training of students? There is one question. How design thinking can contribute in skill training of students?
Yeah. So as I said, people who are learning design thinking, as well as practicing design thinking in solving some real world problem, they develop and nurture, or they acquire skills, especially in the area of creative thinking, complex problem solving skill, as well as their mindset is also tuned to collaboration and experimentation. And these are some of the skills which more and more organizations need today. Without these skills, organizations are finding it difficult, as I said in my presentation, to utilize their employees to their full potential. And that is why organizations are providing those environments where people can use both sides of the brain, and design thinking enable that. And that is how people can give their best to the organization, as well as organization can also utilize to their full potential. And if you start introducing design thinking as a part of your curriculum, as Dr. Reddy shared, that you are preparing students for job ready. So that is really one of the skill which will really help them to be job ready in today's fast changing world. So this is a key skill to acquire and develop.
Thank you. I think Dr. Bhaskar Rao, Professor Bhaskar Rao.
Yes, sir.
Now I think it is time. We are getting into the next session. So would you like to propose a vote of thanks?
Right, sir. You're right, sir. Thank you. I think there are some more questions which we will take them in the coming sessions. Definitely we will address them. But at the moment, let me propose a formal vote of thanks. I profusely thank Mr. Ravikant for giving his valuable time and giving us valuable insights from what he has acquired over several years of practice of design thinking. And all of us are enriched by the model that he has actually used, which is slightly different from what the IDEO and the Stanford are using. I think to that extent, he has customized it to the Indian requirements, perhaps taking all the experience from various institutions here. Thank you so much, sir, for a lovely, elaborate, awesome presentation, and all of our participants are extremely happy about it. I also thank the ICFI management for giving the opportunity of hosting this Atal Academy sponsored FDP in our university. I know this is the first of this kind of FDP in our university, and I know in the first 15-20 minutes we had some technical issues, but I think soon all of them have settled, and the rest of the program, I have no doubt that it will go on smooth. And thank you for bearing with us. And I thank our Honorable Vice Chancellor, who has always been encouraging us to do a lot of new things, and the focus currently being on the innovation and entrepreneurship. We have very, very actively working on that in all the schools of the university, and this design thinking workshop will go in a long way for promoting the entrepreneurial and innovation skills within the university. I also thank the registrar of our university, the dean academics, the directors of the science and technology school, the law school, the architecture school, and the area heads of our university for encouraging us and hosting this particular faculty development program. I thank all my faculty colleagues who have joined today and who are going to support this kind of a program for the months and the years to come together. And my gratitude particularly to the Atal Academy. I think the way they have been doing is really transforming the country. They have already planned for 1,000 FDPs across the country in emerging areas, and they're all encouraging the universities to conduct such valuable programs. The chairman, the vice chairman, the secretary, the director, all the senior team of Atal Academy are actively involved in this. And this itself is a transformation which I have not seen for several decades. Thanks to Atal Academy and AICTE for their monumental work which they are doing, and getting a recognition at the World Book of Records is not a small achievement. And now I believe they're going for recognition in the Guinness Book of World Records as well. I also thank all my supporting staff in the IT department, in the administration, for giving this support to conduct this program. And last but not the least, I thank profusely all my participants who are here with us and who will be there with us for the next 5 days for making this program successful. And my thanks are particularly due to Mr. Hemant and Mr. Sayantan, who have been extremely supportive of this program. We have had several meetings in the last 1 month, and they are all eager to share their valuable insights in this program. And thank you, Mr. Ravikant. He has offered us to provide us future services whenever we wanted. Thank you, sir, for that. And last, a special thanks to Dr. Sainath for giving all the leads for the resource persons and the chief guest, without whose support I would not have been able to conduct this program. Thank you. A big thank you to Dr. Sainath. Thanks a lot. And we will adjourn this program now here. And after 15 minutes, we will all join in the new link for the first session, which is going to be led by Mr. Hemant, who's all set. And whatever the time we have to adjust, we will make sure that we will close the program by 7:30 today. Kindly take a break of 15 minutes and come back to the new link for the first session in the program. Thank you very much, and we will meet again. Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you very much. All the best. All the best to all the parties.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Ravikant, sir.
Yes.
I am Mr. Janakiram. I am teaching a design thinking course.
Great.
Recently, I started this course.
Mm-hmm.
It's been since 1 year I heard about design thinking. Last year I heard about design thinking. I read a lot of things and started working on it.
Okay.
Would you mind correcting my course if I send you?
Yes. I will be more than happy to contribute. And as I said to Mr. Bhaskar as well, it is the way to giving back to society. And I'm happy to contribute in whatever form and shape I can do to build a better curriculum for current and future students.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Can you share your mail ID or a number so that I can?
I will share, Mr. Janakram. Don't worry, I will share it with you.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Oscar.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. All the best.